Hi everyone, how's everyone doing? We've prepared a little training session for you here today where me and Ponyo work on our loose leash walking skills. In this session, you'll be able to get a feel of what it's like to put all of the things that we've worked on together into one training session, what it's like to work on in intervals, how it looks like to clip your dog from the harness to the collar, and how we deal with distractions. You'll also get a feel of how I set my dog up for success and how I can ensure that the training process is always an enjoyable one for the both of us and that we both have a lot of fun. So without further ado, let me just pull up the video. Here we go. We start off the training session with Ponyo in Anya's car. I started off with some car manners. I love starting my training sessions off with some impulse control just to set the tone of the training session up for us. I want my dog to be calm and to think about his actions ahead. I don't really care if he stands up. I just didn't want him to jump out of the car without me letting him. And there you go. I released him. You can see he's not the biggest fan of his harness, so he waddles around a little bit. That's no problem. He shakes off his discomfort and we start off with the circle method. If he pulls, I simply circle him around me and we continue walking. There you go, the leash gets tight, circle around me, and we continue. I love the circle method because of things like this. I often find that dogs need a little bit of time to get used to the environment that they're in and see the world around them and see what's happening. You can see that was my neighbor's dog barking at him. Ponyo didn't care too much and we continue walking. I also keep a mental note of how often he pulls and how long he's able to walk on the loose leash without pulling me behind him. The longer that he was able to walk on a loose leash on the harness, the more of an indication that would be for me that he's in a calm state of mind and ready to focus on loose leash walking on the collar. But until he's able to do that, I will not clip him onto the collar just yet. I want him to kind of look around, get a feel for what's around us and what's happening in this world. You can see over here, he notices my neighbor that was, I think, stacking some wood behind the fence. He doesn't particularly like that. You can see his tail go up and he lets out a little huff. I stick to my circle method and don't let him fixate on the distraction too much. You can see he doesn't particularly like it. It frustrates him a little bit. So I just use my attention noise and continue to circle him around me. There go the attention noise. Circle around me. And then I give him permission to go pee. I find that peeing for him is decompressing, so I let him let those emotions loose a little bit. I do make small talk with the neighbor, but I always make sure that my mind is on my training session and that I stay focused. Whenever the leash tightens, we simply circle and we continue going. You can see that Ponyo also works through it relatively well. He lets go the fact that my neighbors are there and we continue. I did notice that for him, he's a lot more hypervigilant when he's in an excited state of mind. For him specifically, it's the car that you saw him in at the start of the training session that gets him super excited and that gets him to anticipate what is to come a lot, because when he was a little puppy, we would drive with the car around a lot with friends and with his siblings and he would get to run after. So the car came to signify that fun things are happening, and when he's in a heightened emotional state, he tends to get thrown off track by things in the environment as well, which is what you saw happening with the neighbors there. He did see those neighbors in the morning, but just because it was just the two of us and we didn't exit from the car, he walked past them without a problem, which is why I always like to pay attention to how routine impacts my dog and ensure that my dog is in a calm state of mind and set up for success even before the training session. But obviously, we do oftentimes run into unpredictable things in life, so that's why the circle method came in handy in that case. And you can see that he calmed down nicely and I was able to switch over to the collar and do a couple of seconds, a couple of meters of walking on the collar. He was able to be successful without any problems. So I then do a couple of repetitions of that and let him loose. So he has time to explore, he has a little bit of time to decompress, he has some time to do his own thing. I judge a little bit of how much he's capable of walking, and I set him up for success by keeping the intervals so long that I know he can be successful. And here's a really cool moment where he comes in to check in with me by himself, and he puts himself in the position by himself, which if I had planned better, would be a really cool opportunity to capture this and reward him for doing it by himself. I didn't call him in the position. He decided by himself to come close to me and go into the position, which is a really, really cool indication that he actually finds the position super rewarding. Now, if you have a dog that tends to like to do their own thing on their walks, and you would like them to be more aware of where you are on their walks and do these little check-ins, I would capture every single one of these check-ins and reward your dog for it, either with food or with play or by having a play session even, whatever your dog finds super rewarding. I find that this was one of the things that helped me in Ponyo the most. When I started capturing this sort of behavior on our walks. It also helped me build the value of the position itself as well, because he knows that if he comes into the position by himself, that I sometimes that leads to something fun like play or food. I then clip him back onto the harness because I wanted to do another interval of loose leash walking. The reason I clip him onto the harness first is to see where he's at emotionally, to see if he's capable of walking calmly or whether he's in a rush or not. And you can see that he's super walking nicely, not pulling too much. He pays attention to me. So I then go ahead and clip him onto the collar. I also like starting off the loose leash walking interval by clipping my dog onto the harness first, just so I set the tone a little bit and let them know that, hey, I want you here, I want you focused on me, I want you focused on the position, the leash pressure, so that we can continue on to doing our work. You can see he's doing really well. In this second session, I decided to push him a little bit, test him some, and increase the duration between my rewards. You can see I start off by clicking a little bit more frequently and then slowly take that away as I go on. Here I haven't rewarded him in a little while, and he's doing super well, nicely keeping position by my side. He's aware of my movement, but not overly focused on me. I then also test him a little bit by moving off to the side, and he nicely readjusts. I also slow down a little bit, and he does so successfully as well. He smells something, but he sticks with me. I didn't reward him yet. I stop, speed up, and he does everything great. And I also do some turns, and he sticks with me, which I love to see.
Yes, bravo!
And then as a surprise, I pull out the frisbee that he didn't know I had and have a party. Since he was so successful, I decreased the frequency of my food reward, and he did everything super well. And on top of that, I then also tested him by making some turns and changing my speed, and he passed with flying colors, so I decided to have a party. I always like to say that the harder my dog tries and the more effort they put into whatever we're doing, the bigger the party that we have, the better the reward. The harder they try, the better the reward. I did also push his I tested his limits a little bit to see if he would be capable of keeping his position, and he was, which is why I am not afraid to give him a giant reward here in the end. He focused on me, he changed pace, he was sticking with me for a longer period of time, so he deserves the best. There you go. I put a lot of my energy into it as well because he loves that. But in case your dog likes food more, you can also give them a better food reward or something like that. Ponyo just so happens to like play more. Here in the end, I also test him a little bit, test his knowledge of the position without the leash itself. And you can see he was a little bit distracted by the toy there. So I just do one more turn, and if he succeeds, I give him the reward. And we then start heading back home. I was super happy with this training session. We took a step forward. He was able to work through the distractions and be successful in the end. So that's a win for us.